Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. We will continue with our Docker session. So today is a Docker day 3 session, and the date is 14th of your December, and the timing is evening 4:03 p.m. IST. Okay. So in last session, that is in a day 2 session, basically we had covered some important concept. Like we continued with the Docker day 2 with just executing a simple Java-based application, all the three platform, right? Uh, we all we executed in the physical server. The same application we migrated and we run into the virtual machine, and the same application finally we were able to run in the inside the container actually, right? So it may so what you can understand with that is that actually you can able to migrate your application which was there in running in a server, let it be physical or virtual machine. The same application can be run even in the container also, right? That's how, like, what happened, people in today's time, like, they are migrating these all the applications which are running on their on premises or into some virtual box. Okay, they're able to run in the container actually, right? Because container provides a portability actually. Okay. After that, like, we had also understood about, like, how exactly the container works actually. So we know that there are two important components. One is a Docker client and there's a Docker daemon or Docker engine, we say. So whenever the Docker client execute any command, in the backend, the Docker daemon is the one which actually serves the all kind of execution of any kind of a command where a user is executing. So Docker daemon is very important. It is like a service which is running right within an operating system, and that always serve the service. So that is what in a very high level we try to understand it. Okay, so we will continue to learn more about the internals in all our upcoming sessions, but let us try today to learn some basic operation. Okay, so what is today's topic? So let us try to learn something about the basic container operations. And also let's see, like, I want to examine what is that content is all about. Let us try to even examine. And very important is that how container works, right? These are certain things which we are going to cover in today's session. So to understand, guys, to understand in a better way, let us try to do it. Let us try to launch one Linux machine, preferably Ubuntu machine, and let's see how exactly it looks like. Like, I'll be executing certain commands in Linux just to show you how things works over there actually, right? For that, let me go to the console. I should have already opened it, but okay, I didn't logged in actually, so I think I have to log in now. So let me immediately quickly log in. I think it'll ask you for authentication. Where is my mobile? Let me check where is my mobile. Okay. Or else if I'd had a virtual machine in my Windows itself, I would have launched the Windows. Okay. Okay. So let me quickly go to the Mumbai region and let me launch the instance. So I will need this instance later also. Okay. You can give anything, server one, and I will launch the Ubuntu. I'll go with the T2.micro. I'll go with the latest AMI image. Come down here, my key, go with your edit networking. Okay. I can either go with anything. Default one, enable, select groups, secure groups, and launch it. So let's wait. Okay, has not yet come. So let me log into this server. Okay, guys. So I'm able to log into the server. So let me quickly update the package. Soda apt update. And the thing is that, guys, suppose for example, I want to check what are all the processes which is running in your Linux box. And also I want to check what is CPU, what is the RAM memory. So I want to get a lot of information about all the processes which are running in the Linux. So basically we run a command which is htop command or top or htop command, right? Let me run a htop command. Now you could see that if you run a htop command, you could be able to see that the CPU is just consuming zero point 0.7, 0.7. Memory is something out of 957 MB, like 249 MB is used. So basically it means that in this Linux machine, you're not running any application. Not even a single application you're running. Just now we launched the Linux, right? And then like we just execute the stop command. And it means that the whole Linux operating system, right? It is actually consuming like 216 MB out of 957 MB. So almost 1 GB, 1 GB of RAM memory, almost your RAM memory, like your operating system is consuming the 216 MB, right? And here there's something like a swap, which there's no swap area. And here you could see that there are so many processes which are running here, right? And it shows you the PID of each and every processes. PID is not but process identification number. This is a priority. This is a nice value, and this is nothing but your CPU utilization and memory utilization. And this is nothing but your command actually. The last column, what you can see is a command actually. So what I'm trying to tell that you are just executing the htop command to just check like what is your statistical information about your operating system, like how much CPU and how much RAM memory, everything is utilized. Same thing, Rajesh, can I check it out in our Windows? Yeah, you can do it. You can go to the your task manager and basically, yeah, you can check this one, right? Like you could see that how much apps are running in your system, as well as you could see the background processes. You could see that so many processes are running. And here you'll get all the details of how much each and every app or the process is consuming the memory and the CPU and the disk and the network actually. So you are getting a huge information about the processes which are running in a system. Similarly, suppose for example, I want to check, I'll just say Control C, and I want to check like what is my mounted disks actually, which are there in my Ubuntu. So I can just say sudo, I can just run a command do-h. Now you could see that actually it is showing you all the file system which is there in your Ubuntu Linux. And these are the file system slash dev root. Okay, this is slash dev root which is mounted onto the slash partition, right? And the disk size what is there is about 6.8 GB. Out of it, 2 GB is used, 4.8 GB is available, and the usage percent in terms of percentage it is 30%. Apart from this, there are so many other file systems are also there, right? Temp FS, Dev FS, or like that. And you will have one more file system like slash dev xvda16, slash dev xvda15, and this is mounted onto the respective mount point, like slash boot EFI. So by executing this command, guys, you are able to get some information about your file system which is there in your Ubuntu Linux, right? Or else what you can do that you can run one command. What is that? lsblk, right? Yeah. So this also gives you the information about the disk and the mount point where it is mounted actually, right? Similarly, I want to check my IP address of my machine. I can execute a command if config. If this is not there, you can just execute a command ipaddr. So if you execute ipaddr, you could see that there are two network interfaces are there. One is called as a ENX0, and the IP address of you for assigned IP address for this interface is number 172.31.40.213. Similarly, there is one more network card is there, which is for meant for a loop back actually, LO, and the default IP address is always 127.0.0.1. So this is for your local host. Local host means that whenever you want to ping yourself or itself, then we have a loop back we say, right? So always the IP address is always fixed 127.0.0.1. So it means that Rajesh, in your system, right, or in your Ubuntu Linux, which is this machine, it is having two interfaces, network interface cards. Yes, one is for ENX0 and other is for loopback address. Am I clear, sir? Now, why I'm saying all these things about, right? We will quickly understand. why I'm trying to show all the resources, or what are all the like information what you get from your normal virtual machine or from the physical machine. Can I check the same thing? Can I get to know the same thing about, like, when you're creating a container, how much RAM memory, how much CPU, or what is the disk which is utilizing? I need to know the internal understanding about how exactly when the container is getting created, right? What are all the resources allocated for the container? So that one I need to understand actually, right? I need to understand. Now, to understand in a very better way, let me go and let me try to server clip art. So let me take up some server here. So there's a server. So in this server, guys, you have two interfaces. Like this two interface card is there. Okay. And for this interface card, as per my system, this is the IP address. And this is nothing but your loop back address. We saw LO, and for the LO, it is 127.0.0.0.1. This is IP address. And this is nothing but the ENX0, whatever it is, right? The naming. ENX0. This is the interface name we say. Okay. Now what happened in this Linux, in this machine, what we are doing that we will be creating some, we will be taking some distribution. So in this case, I took a Ubuntu, right? So this is my Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is basically a distribution actually. Basically, it's a distribution we say. Distribution in sense like this is one of the distribution. We call this as a, what is it? Ubuntu canonical distribution we say. But what exactly the Ubuntu distribution do basically, like they try to take a Linux kernel. They try to take a Linux kernel. This is a Linux kernel actually. This is what the mascot we say, or nothing but the image what they use it actually. This is a Linux kernel actually. Ah, come on. This is a Linux kernel. So they'll take this Linux kernel. On top of it, they'll add so many features, and they will be distributed as something like Ubuntu. Similarly, what the Red Hat do, or the Red Hat company will do that, Red Hat will try to take the Linux kernel. This is nothing but the kernel, we say. And this kernel, what they do that, they will going to tweak this kernel based on the requirement. They'll add so many packages or libraries or whatever softwares and libraries. So many things they add it on it, and finally they will distribute it actually. Like Red Hat will distribute something like RHL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, like 10 they're going to release, or 10.2 they're going to release. Like this. It means that the Linux kernel is same. But what happened, right? They will try to take this kernel and they'll try to tweak it. Similarly, you take any company, like for example, in mobile section, you have something like OnePlus, right? What they do, they take the Linux kernel and they will try to add all your Android libraries, something Android, what do you call, can say that mid-layer software is added, and they distribute it actually, and they come up with their own. What is OnePlus they provide, guys? Any idea? What is the OS actually? Something Oxygen
Yes.
Android OS. Uh, Similarly, what happened? Your Samsung also does the same thing. They will take the Linux kernel and they will add their own. They'll add the existing Android or whatever the library is. Android library, sorry, library, and they release something. What is it they call? Fun OS, huh? Something they call Fun OS. Something I'm not sure. Something I heard about Fun OS. That is, I think this is all done by Fun OS and all done by these people. Who is that? Vivo or Oppo and all, right? Samsung, I think they come up with something.
One year.
Huh?
One year. 1 year.
One UA, huh?
Yeah.
Tizen,
Oh,
Tizen.
yeah, I don't know. I'm just asking you. Now the same thing, how these people are doing, same thing, the distribution will do the same thing. They'll take the Linux kernel. So where they take the Linux kernel, they'll go and download the source code from kernel.org. Kernel.org, and from there what happened, right? They'll take the Linux kernel, the latest Linux kernel, and they'll try to tweak it. It means that they'll try to do some kind of a changes in the kernel itself based on their requirement, and they try to add on so many package, add on a lot of software. For example, RHEL or the Red Hat, right? They add so many server related software. They try to bring up a lot of new things actually, and they try to add all those packages, everything, and they'll try to give as a bundle, as a bundle. They build a bundle and they'll give as a under some distribution actually. Right. So people have to, when the companies go and buy it, they buy per license or per machine license, they'll buy it, and they will get support for like 1 year from that licensing cost, whatever they paid. So right. So now the thing is that happened. What happened? Like the distribution Linux distribution, sorry, Ubuntu distribution is one among them actually, right? And it has its own way of dealing with this Linux kernel, and it has its own software. Everything comes as a package. Oh, okay, okay, guys. Okay. Now the thing is that apart from this, guys, apart from this networking stuff, actually, you will have many other things also. Like for example, you might have your RAM memory. So why am I telling all these things? Yeah, we will discuss very soon. So this is your RAM memory, which comes with your system like this. Similarly, you have a hard disk also, right? Hard disks. Sorry, right? So either you have one hard disk or you might have several hard disks like this. So, okay, anything is left, guys? Nothing, right? Network card is there, storage is there, RAM is there, physical memory, yeah. So now all these are part of your server only actually, right? And we know that actually that Linux kernel, what about the Linux actually, we call it as a kernel actually. So what it you does that it you utilizes all this different resources or hardware components which is provided server. Now thing is that what the Linux will do basically, guys, the Linux kernel, it will treat this disk and it will try to storage a file system on this disk actually. So there is something known as a partitions actually, partition concepts. So it'll try to create a partition. On top of the partition, what happened, right? It'll try to create a file system on it actually, right? And in Linux actually, the file system is what I call ext4 or ext5 file system. This is the file system which is used in Linux actually, or else they use something like a Razor file system, Razor file system like that. These are some of the file system where Linux uses actually, but natively ext5 file is a file system. Right. Now, what they do, right, basically, when I try to create a file system on it, actually, they will, it has a structure actually, right? And if you go to the Google and if you try to do a file system, okay, Linux file system, what is it? Clipart or image. Okay. If you go it actually, guys, I think this is looks better, right? Or else, I was looking for some other. Oh, yeah, this looks good actually. This is what your file system looks like actually. See, it starts with a slash and it has various different folders inside the slash actually. So we have already gone through all these things in the Linux session itself actually, right? Correct, guys. Now, what happened right here basically? Now, what happened here? This whole file system, right? So, what happened, right? This whole file system is mounted onto the slash actually. Okay. Now what happened? Now if you take this one disk actually, consider this as a one disk actually. This disk actually, where what happened, right? This disk, uh, this disk actually, this disk will be mounted actually. This disk will be mounted, and that mounted, this disk will be mounted with some of the partition, and it will be mounted onto the slash actually. Am I clear, sir? Right? Something like that. And also what happened right here, you can consider that if you have this picture, you could see that there's something like slash boot is there, Dave is there, home is there, like that actually, bin is there, right? So now what happened, right? If you see this, these are all like a folder structure within a slash actually. Say for example, if you're having a slash home actually, slash home will act like a folder actually. It acts like a folder. It's acts like a folder like this. Okay. So this folder, consider this folder to be like a slash home actually. So this what happened, this disk actually, this disk, one of the partition of the disk actually, okay, it will be mounted onto this slash home actually. So whatever you're seeing, right, this disk actually, it's a raw disk. It has a partition, and inside the partition it has a file system. It will be somewhere, it will be mounted onto some different folder structure. Like this disk is mounted to the slash partition or the slash actually, and this disk is mounted to the slash home actually. So this is what we call it as a mount actually. We call it as a mount. Okay. So some file system is be mounted onto some kind of a folder, right? That is what we call as a mount actually. It means that the whole file system will get mounted into some kind of a mount point or a folder we say, and that the whole process of making it, we call it as a mount actually. Am I clear, sir? That's the reason if you go to this Linux machine and when you try to do a df-h, I could see that actually this file system slash dev root, some disk, it is mounted onto the slash partition. Similarly, slash dev xvda16 is mounted to the slash boot partition. Slash dev xvda15 is a so this is nothing but your disk actually we say. Okay, disk, in this disk a file system is there, and the disk is mounted here onto this mount point or onto this folder we say. So here you could see slash is there, slash boot is there. It's something similar like this. Slash is there, slash home is there. One more folder is known as slash boot. So where the slash boot partition will be mounted. Okay. Mounted means the whole access of the disk will be present in that folder actually. It means that if you get inside a folder, you'll be able to access that entire partition or entire disk actually. Am I clear, sir, till here?
Yes.
Now, why I'm telling all these things is you will quickly understand, like when we have a container, Rajesh, does the container have this network interfaces? Yes, it has. Does the container has this disk? Yes, it has. Does the container has some kind of a process tree? Yes, it has. Does the container also show some kind of a mount point where some kind of a disk is mounted onto some partition? Yes, it has. So even the container inside the container also, it has all the resources what the common Linux kernel has. Or it means that whatever the Linux kernel has, right? The same thing even you will get even for the container also, inside the container also. Okay. So for understanding all these things, guys, what we'll do that? Okay, what we'll do that? We'll start creating a Docker container. I'll do one thing. Today I'll be using that same playground because that is freely available, right? For 2 hours. I'll be using the playground to show all the demonstration today. Docker playground. And from next class onwards, we'll install the Docker into a Linux machine, or else today only also we'll install the Docker onto the machine and then like we'll start using onto our machine itself. But anyhow, we have a Docker playground, right? Let us try to understand it. Okay. So you know that for whenever you are creating a Docker in a playground, be that before you initiate the Docker playground, I think you know that you need to have an account in the Docker Hub actually. So what I have to say that for this, we need to create a account in Docker Hub. So guys, I hope that you all have created an account actually, right? So if you go here and if you try to go to the hub.docker.com, I think you have the account by now. Please have an account if you don't have it. We can say sign in, sign in. Okay, you should have logged in already in this. So after you log in, you can just say Docker Playground. Just search for Docker Playground and you're going to get with this link actually play with the labs, play with the Docker. Somebody has provided you an open source where you can actually work with the Docker without having a system or without having a Docker installed. You can get some kind of a playground where somebody, a third party person, has already given you, and they will give some kind of a restriction for you to work with this playground also. So you can practice everything, all Docker related stuff, everything over here itself actually, right? Okay, guys. Now we have this terminal. Now, now Docker is already there. If you want to check it out, you can just say Docker-FN version. Okay, it will show you that 27.3.1 is a Docker, which is already there in this machine actually, which they are given. Or else you can even run a command Docker info. So if you execute that command Docker info command, you can be able to see that Docker info will also give you some output. Okay, it gives you some output, something like what is a version is there. But here, when you execute the Docker info, it shows you some two components. One is the client version, client component, and other is the server component. Okay, so it means that when you're executing this command, if you're able to see the client component as well as server component, all the things, if you try to see this kind of an output, it means that the Docker is installed successfully in your system actually. If Docker info is giving some kind of an error, then it means that there is some issue with the Docker actually. Then you need to either reinstall the Docker again, or else you have to go and fix that issue, whatever you're getting the error, right? That error you have to just go and search in your chat GPT, you will get some kind of a fix actually. Go and try to run that command and fix that issue actually, right? Sometime you might get an error by executing Docker info, then you have to fix it actually. Okay. So we will also see in our upcoming what are those some kind of errors you are going to get it when you execute Docker info. Even after installing also, sometime you might get some error. So you have to go and fix it actually. Basically, it will be a kind of a mostly it will be a permission issue actually. Okay, guys. Now my question is that actually that I need to create a container. We need to learn about something on a container operations actually. So let us try to understand about something on the what are the operations you can do onto the container operations actually. Okay. So for that, guys, let us try to understand about what is a container life cycle. So what is a container life cycle? If you go to the Google and if you try to search for something like container life cycle, okay, you'll get many articles, or else I can go to the images. Okay. Uh, I want some better picture actually. Yeah, this is somewhat okay. So this is your container life cycle, guys, actually. Right. So whenever you want to create the container, you have to call a create actually, Docker create, something like that. When you want to create, you have to say Docker create. So when you start running it, when you start creating it, actually, it will be in a created state, right? Later, once it is getting created, it will start it actually, and then like you will get the container running state. So running state of the container is nothing but it's a combination of the created plus start is nothing but running state. So your container will be running state. Later, if you want to stop that, you can apply something known as stop. So your container will go to stop state. And whenever you want to start the stop state container, you can start it by applying a start option actually. So whenever you have to stop it, you have to stop the running container by calling a stop method, by like something like Docker container stop and specify that container ID or the container name, you'll get stopped actually. And whenever you want to start it, you have to just up call a start actually. Right? Now, after this, like after the stop, suppose for example, whenever you want to delete the container, you can delete the container. So here, what is the mechanism? You can understand that. Rajesh, when you can delete it, actually, you can delete it, the container which are in the stop state only. Suppose the containers are running, and if you try to run, if you want to delete it, you cannot simply delete it actually like that. First, you have to make it in the stop state, and from the stop state, you have to delete that container. But sometimes assume that the container is running. If you just simply do a container rm command to stop it, it will not stop it. You have to forcibly stop it. You have to say rm-f. That option you have to use. It means that you can directly delete it by applying a force method actually. But otherwise, what happens usually, like you have to first stop the container and then you have to delete the container. Right? First you have to stop it and then you apply an rm command on that, it will get deleted. Am I clear, sir? And sometimes what happened, right? The running container, it has to be paused. You call a pause method, you call a pause option to pause it. It means that currently what happened, currently the process, the container is not running. It doesn't mean that the container is deleted or it's not like that. Container will be in a pause state. That is a special state where the container will be waiting. Okay. As soon as you apply an unpause, what happened? Again, the container will start running. Same thing like here, when the container want to stop it, it means that it's not doing anything. You don't want to run that container. You want to stop whatever the application is running in the container, right? You want to stop it, you have to apply a stop. Am I clear, sir? So this is nothing but your life cycle of your Docker. So these are the basic life cycle of your Docker. Am I clear, sir? So shall we see what are the operations you can do onto the container? So basically, the operation means that you have to make a container to be in any one of the state actually. Like what is the state? Either you can make it as a running, either you can make it as a stop, or either make it as a deleted, or either you can make it run, or you can make it as a start also. So these are nothing but these are the container operations or the state you can say it actually, right? So what are the container life cycle? Basically, you have to either create it, and start it, and then like run it. Run is basically nothing but it's a combination of create plus start. Okay, or you can make it as a stop, you can make it as a pause and unpause. Okay, you can even do a remove or you can call it as a delete. So these are nothing but the container life cycle. Am I clear, sir? Now the thing is that now you want to create the container or you want to create the container. Usually what happens, guys? You go to you go to the playground. You go to the playground. You go to the playground, and basically what we do here, whenever you want to do any operation, what you do, for example, I want to see what are all the options Docker provides actually. Okay, initially for few classes, guys, what we need to do is we need to build a habit of always executing Docker with a -FN help option. Like for example, if I do a Docker -FN help option, you could see that it will show you so many menus or information about how you can actually work with the Docker, right? What are all the options? What are the commands are there? Like if you go up here and if you see it actually, it's nothing but it's a Docker option and the commands actually, right? Suppose you want to run a Docker container, you have to always say Docker run. You have to do right. Similarly, whenever you want to do a list all the container, you have to say Docker ps, right? And you have to do Docker build. If whatever the common options you are seeing, guys, this is kind of a pretty old option. It means that when the Docker came into the picture, right, in 2013, when Docker came into this world, Docker started using all these options actually, like Docker run, Docker exec, Docker ps, Docker build, Docker pull, Docker push, Docker image. These options were used actually, and even it is still used even in the latest version also. What are the latest version? What we find in Docker, and even these options are still used. But later, what happened after some years, right? What they did, right? They came up with something like a management commands actually. It means that now the thing is that all the organizations they have started using the management commands from very long time, 5 6 years back only they started using it actually, right? So for example, whenever you want to run any kind of a container, you have to always use a Docker run is an option you have to use, command option you have to use it. Now the new method is Docker container and then say run actually. So they've segregated everything as a model actually, and that's the reason they came with something like a management command. So which one is actually used? This is what it is actually used in today's time. It means that whenever you are running any kind of a command, basically we use this management command always, like whenever you are doing any operation onto the Docker actually. But still the older method also exists. Okay, why? Because the people have been using Docker for a long time, right? They might know all these things, but still what happened, just to maintain kind of a legacy method of executing anything, still they maintain all these older options also. But soon after some time later, I think it will be deprecated, all this will go off, and people will start using all the management commands only whenever they are doing any kind of a work in Docker actually. Right. So here, this is one thing actually, and we will be learning all these options, guys. We will not leave any options. All these options, even the common command, all these things we'll be using. Even you will be learning about the swarm and what are the commands which are related to this Docker, right? All these commands we have to go through it, right? And also all these other options. Everything we are going to understand it, right? Now that is what it says that when you do a Docker -fl, you could see the Docker and the option is there and the command actually. A command is nothing but if you come down, these are all the commands actually. It means that, for example, if I want to run a container, okay, I'll say Docker run and then apply whatever you docker run commit, docker run cp, docker run create. So whatever it, you can apply that command after using docker run like that, whichever applicable, docker run stop, docker run start, like this, right? Now for example, if I want to understand what are the options which are there for the docker run, so what I will do, that I will just say docker run, and I will say hyphen fn help. So for few days, guys, you have to make a practice of, or habit of, build a habit of just checking all these things. So Docker run and hyphen help, if I give it, right, you will see that so many options are there. So you could see that Docker run hyphen help, it will create and run a new container from the image, okay? But you could see that aliases is there. Aliases is not what you can run either Docker run, or either you can run Docker container run. You can either run both of the, any one of them you can run. So Docker run is an older method, and today's time we are using a Docker container run. We are doing it actually. Why they adopted it this new way, I will discuss in some time now. Okay. Still, why they maintain the old way? Yeah, for the legacy purpose, they have maintained it because there are so many people who are working from very long time Docker, right? They don't want to really adapt, or they don't want to really go with the new method. Still, this older methods is still there. They are using it actually in a day-to-day activity, right? But still, eventually over a time now, they will be, this all old method will be deprecated, and you have to start using this method actually, the second way, which they have additionally added now. Now, if I try to do a Docker and hyphen fn help, you could see that this is the aliases. You can even use this or this, and then like you have having so many options here. These are all the options you are using, right? These are all the options you are using. Hyphen C, hyphen D, hyphen E, hyphen H actually, hyphen L. Like that, so many informations are there. We will be going through many of these options, guys. We will be going through in our entire course. We will be covering many things actually. Am I clear, sir? Now, to understand all these things, all the options, everything better way, guys, always people what they do, right? They'll always go with the Docker cheat sheet actually. So usually in today's time, right, nobody really want to any kind of a mug up or something. What they do, that they will try to go to the Google and they'll just try to search the cheat sheet for that particular tool. Suppose we saw that when we are learning Git, right, we basically we try to check the cheat sheet of the Git. What is their standard cheat sheet? We will follow that to understand or to learn all the commands and options. Similarly, when you are trying to learn the Kubernetes, you have a Kubernetes cheat sheet. You have an Ansible cheat sheet. For every tool today, in today's time, we have the cheat sheet actually. Somebody, people like you who have developed who have written all the cheat sheet and they have published in the Google, in the net actually, so that you can go and download that and you can start using it actually. So if you go to the Google, so I would recommend that, guys, please, for little bit initially, you just follow the Google cheat sheet actually for some time. Unless until you comfortably become a little good in command actually, I'll always prefer to go with the cheat sheet actually. So here what happened, your official docker.com, right? That also provides the cheat sheet actually. If you open this documentation, there are so many cheat sheets are there. If you see, these are cheat sheet, images, container, you could see these are all the commands they have given actually. So this is a CLI cheat sheet we say. So we are having so many. Similarly, if you go to the other links and all, you will get many cheat sheet actually. Okay, so you can go with any cheat sheet. Everything, all are, most of them are like, this is the cheat sheet actually. So managing the container, you have to just say docker ps, docker rm command. See, you could see that all the options. So all of us should be well versed with all these commands, guys. All the commands. One of the entry question, very basically, they'll ask you the command only. Okay, command, and they'll expect you to even provide the options also in a very proper way. You have to give the options also. You have to tell that this is what the option I'm using it actually. Like one of the question was asked to me, like Rajesh, like suppose I want to fetch all the logs from the container from one time to some time. It means that you want to just check with the time slice of 1 2 hours. Say for example, from now, Rajesh, or else from the time like 5 hours back, like you take some time from there. I want to get all the logs for next 30 minutes, right? So how do you do it actually? What is the option or what is the command you use it actually, right? So there's sometimes hyphen fn timestamp is there, hyphen t, that option you have to use it, and there is something like a hyphen fn until is there, that option you have to use it actually, like that. Those are the options you have to use it just to just to get that half an hour 30 minutes logs you want to get, right? The time slice only you have to get it, then you have to apply that option. So they are very particular, the intro are very particular with the options, And always you need to even tell the proper options very properly. You have to tell it with the proper syntax. Simply saying, so I have that option, is there something like that, if you tell like that in a, like, they won't accept it, even though they'll say yes, 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 but ultimately they will know that, okay, this guy doesn't have that much knowledge. So please practice so much that actually you remember most of these commands and the options, and the same thing in interview they are going to ask, guys. It's left to them whether they will ask or not, but definitely you can expect, if not in all the interviews, in some other interviews you will come across with some questions related to the command also. Okay, right? Because I attended some 10 interviews. I didn't get any call, in any interview. Nobody will ask me about the command. Suddenly, one person in one interview, they start asking me. So anything can happen, right? If when you're attending interview, you can't expect that he'll only ask very important tools. He might ask anything. He might ask Docker also. He might ask Docker commands. So many things. Right. So be ready. I mean, be like open to learn, and be practice very well so that you remember it. And before you go for interview, just to majorly scroll some important commands and options, right? Before you go for interview, right? Just 1 or 2 hours before. If you have made your own notes and all, right, just scroll through your notes only, and then like go through it, and that's like a quick recap of everything, whatever you know, right? Okay, guys. So I would leave to you. You can use any kind of a Docker cheat sheet. Okay, I'm not saying that okay, use only this only. You can use anything whichever your choice is. Okay. Okay, guys. Now what we'll do, guys, we will try to do one thing. Now we'll start learning the commands now. Okay, now we know very well. Now let us try to learn the commands. Say, for example, I want to create a container, and start it actually. We have already seen in our last session also, right? So what is the command we use, guys? We use something known as a Docker. Assume that I want to run a container. I'll just say Docker. I can even directly use a run like that, or else I can use a Docker container, which is a new method, and I'll say run. Say, for example, I want to use some image name. So you have to give some image name here. Image, right? What is an image? So here in this case, I'll just say Docker and the tags actually, like this. This is a syntax actually. So how I'll do, I'll just say Docker container run, and I'll give some image name, something like httpd colon. The tag name is something like latest. This is what the command I will use to run a container. So same thing, guys, you can even run like this also. Docker run httpd colon latest. Like this also you can run, or else you can even run this way also. Both are same actually. But still, what happened? People who are recently started working, they'll always prefer to go with this Docker container run, because that itself is recommended by your Docker community. Also, they say that please always use the latest options. Don't still stick to the older version of what we were using, right? So people don't usually use the older way. They have started using the new way only. So even you also learn the old new way only. Docker container run, and specify the image name and with the tag name actually. Now, one additional thing which we do it here, okay, one is the thing, but whenever you are running a Docker container, whenever you're starting a Docker container, first you have to give the name. Like, for example, you give something like hyphen FN name and specify the name. Say, for example, if I give the name as something like a web1, so it will create the container with this name web1. If you don't give the name with the hyphen FN option, what Docker will do, Docker will randomly take some name and it will assign that name to that newly created container. If you are not giving any name, it will by default take some name, a default name, and it will try to assign it. Am I clear, sir? And apart from the name, assume that I'm giving this name. One more, one more option I use it actually always. That is nothing but your what is it? That is nothing but your hyphen D option. Hyphen D means detach. What is this detach? Why we use it? I will discuss in some time, not now. But just assume that I just think that okay, Rajesh, there is some options hyphen D. We always use it actually. Why we use it? We will tell. We'll discuss about this later actually. Right. So this is the command, guys. Very simple command actually. Right. Now here, what happened? Right. If you want to really understand about the image, you know that there is an HTTP image is there, right? So this is one kind of I can say that distributed image which is provided by your Docker community, right? So if you go to the hub.docker.com, right, this is hub.docker.com. So guys, I will take one class on separately on the hub.docker.com. Maybe in tomorrow's session, next session, I will discuss more about this. But right now you understand that this is nothing but this is your nothing but the repository. It's a public repository where all the images are maintained, right? And if you go here and if you want to, whenever you want to search for any kind of image, you have to always go here and search for that image. Now, whenever you search for it, you could see that there are three types of images. Are there? One is a Docker official images, verified publisher, and sponsored OSS. All what are these types? These three different types we will discuss in tomorrow session, not now. Okay. Now, right now, I assume that actually, Rajesh, whenever I want to run any kind of a container and I want to use some image for running my container, always I have to go with the official image itself. If you go and click on this official image, and if you go and search for see all result, right? Just go and click on it. You will see that you'll see all the images actually. See, you'll see all these images. Now I could see that Nginx image there, BusyBox image there, Memcache image is there, Alpine is there, Redis is there, Postgres, and if you come down somewhere, you'll find now the HTTP image. Right? So whatever the image which I am using here, right? That is nothing but it's a standard image. It's an official Docker image actually, which is designed and built by the Docker itself, Docker company itself. That's what usually in the organization people will always searching for the official image itself, Docker's official image. Okay. Apart from that, you have verified publisher also. A verified publisher is like I can say somebody third party company who are building these images and they are providing in the Docker community like that. So what they do, if you click on the publisher image and if you go with the see all images, you will see that there are many other third party images are there. But you could see that this is a naming convention actually. But what you can understand is actually that, see, when you have this image name, it is something Datadog slash and some name, something slash some name, something slash some name. See, everywhere you could see that there's something like a slash. So it means that Rajesh, this is not the official image. This is the third party, trusted content, third party image, people. And always third party image will always have this convention actually. Okay, it's something like like it is something like I can say that this is nothing but the company name, the user name, and a slash and the image name, like something like that, or else the account name slash and the image name, the account name slash and the image name, like that. This is what the convention is all about. So we will try to discuss all these things in tomorrow's session, guys. Okay, and the third is that actually, if you go here, you have something sponsored OSS. That also let's see what is it actually. See all results. Now it also same thing like this. So you will get the same kind of a thing actually. Right, you will get it actually. Right now, I'm not really worried about this actually. I'm worried about the official image itself. If you click on the official image and go to the all search, here if you come down, you could see that there's something like HTTP image. So if you click on this HTTP image, it'll take you to the page where it'll give some details about what is HTTP image is all about. It's an Apache HTTP server project actually image. Already some one more than 1 billion people have already downloaded. And if you come down, these are all the tags which is provided for it for this HTTP image. Can you see there's something like latest is there? Yes. So Rajesh, can I take this 2.4 to 2 hyphen alpine? So Rajesh, what it is all about? This tax represents some kind of a versioning for that. Say for example, you know that in the developer what they do, right? When they develop the application, they give some versioning, right? Suppose for example, when they're releasing for the first time, they'll say that version 1.0 like that. And later what happened, right? When they try to develop any new feature to the application, they'll try to release 1.1 and later they'll try to release 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, right? So they'll be keep releasing a new version actually. Right? There will be a main version and there will be a sub version, something like that, like 1.1, 1.2. 1 is a main version, dot 2 means 2 is a minor version. So they'll be keep releasing just to identify that, okay, this is a version 1 which are releasing with this, all this feature. Like for example, if you are releasing 1.0 as a first version and the same product having 1.10 actually, so it means that already there are 10 releases, 9 releases have been done already previously. It means that in every release cycle you are trying to add some more the features, or else you will be enhancing the existing features only, or else you will be working on some bug which is there in that product actually. So there are multiple things which you'll be doing onto the product. Either you enhance the product, or else you try to add on any new feature to the product, or else you try to remove all kind of a bugs what is there, or any kind of errors which is there in the product, you will try to remove. Whenever you do any kind of this operation, guys, we will always release with a new version actually. Similarly, whenever the Docker comes with some tag actually. Like for example, here as I said, right, the image and the tag name. What is this tag is all about? Tag you can consider as a releases actually. So the latest is always something like you will get something like latest only. It means that, oh, okay, that is the latest one which is available. Or else you will go, if you go with some particular version like HTTP colon 2.4.66, okay, this might have some fixer, or this version might have some kind of a feature which you wanted to use it from that product or from that application. Then we will always go with that particular version. So always what happened, right? When the developers are working, suppose the developers are working on some microservices, he might use 2.4.66 only for deploying it. So he might tell, okay, I'm using this version only. I stick to this version and I stick to this tag value, and you all have to test on the same tag, same value only, same version only. You cannot go and test it everything on the latest, right? Because he might have developed only to work on in this particular version only, right? Then in that case, tags plays a very vital role. Correct, guys? Right? So we will come across with this also later. Don't worry. I'm just telling in a very high level. Later we will also deep dive in all these options, guys. Don't worry. It's very interesting to learn all these things. But right now, what I'm doing that I'm just executing this command. Container docker container run -d, and I'll do one thing. I don't give a name as of now. Let's see what will happen. And I'll just say HTTP colon latest. So let's run this command. Yes. Take this command. I can copy it, but anyhow, I'll go here. I'll go with our this one. Say Control L. I'll clear the screen. I'll just say Docker container run -d. -d means detach. What is it? We'll see later. Don't worry. Okay. And then they'll say HTTPD. That's the image, and just say colon latest and say run it. Now what it does, it say that okay, this locally it is unable to find this image. Hence, it started extracting or pulling from your pulling from your Docker hub actually. Once it pulls it, you could see that it is running. Now, if you see this command execution, guys, it is actually pulling this image. Finally, it has started that container, and you could see that this is something big number it is getting here. So, what is this hell this big number is all about? So, this is nothing but this is something we call it as a container ID. It means that whenever the container has started and whenever it is running, what the Docker will do, Docker will assign some kind of a container ID for that running container. So always what happens whenever a container is running, actively it is running, right? In the background, it means that Rajesh, that container is associated with some container ID. Similarly, whenever a process is running, right, always the process is running, what happens? A PID will be assigned to a process, right? Right? That PID will give identification of the process. Similarly, whenever you want to identify any kind of a container which is running, actually, you need to always provide a container ID. So this is the container ID. Am I clear, sir? Container ID. Now assume that Rajesh, I want to display the all the containers which are running it actually, right? There are many methods are there, right? For example, I want to display it. I use some older method like Docker PS. It will display all the containers which are running in your system actually. So you could see that actually this is the container which is running actually. And if you watch it carefully, see this is what it is. BB F57DDD something, right? This is some big number, right? But whereas it is showing some precise number or some trimmed number it is showing. It means that it takes some value up to some character and it will show the trimmed version of your as a Docker ID actually. So when I execute Docker PS, it is showing you that, okay, this is the container which is running in your system. Now you could see that, right? This HTTP colon latest, this image, it is running and it is running it actually. And you could see that what is the name assigned for your running container. Dynamically what happened, your Docker will assign some random name, which it's called something here. It is showing is a dreamy underscore TAUSS TOS IG. Some name it has randomly given. You are not giving any name. Docker itself has created with this name and it has assigned this name to that running container. And this running container will have this unique ID. So please guys make sure that whenever you are having any kind of a container, always container will be having a unique ID. You cannot have two containers with the same ID. It's not possible. Always every container will have its own unique container ID. So we as an end user, whenever I want to do operation onto this container, I can either do an operation with help of a container ID or else I can use with the help of a name of the container. Any one is fine for us. Mostly in the real time, what happened, whenever you're doing any operation onto the container, we always prefer to go with the naming, not with this ID. So ID looks very clumsy, right? It looks very big a combination of alphanumeric characters. So it is quite little bit difficult for us to do any operation on them. It is easy that you always do with the name actually. So it means that whenever we are running any container, you have to run a container and you have to even give a name also when you are creating a container. That is always the best practice. So in this case, now what I did, right, I try to run the container without the name. Now the next what I have to do that, I have to run a container with name like this. So how do you give it right? After this, you'll give something like hyphen name option. Say for example, give web1, right? And then what happened? You will run this container. So you'll try to run one more container. It will give assign a name as a web1. Here, if you see it, it is showing you some name. But when you try to run this command, it will give you something like a web1. Shall we run it? Yeah. So use this up arrow mark key to relocate that command. Okay. I'll just say docker container. What is it? Say run hyphen d hyphen fn name. I'm just giving as a web1 space. Give the image httpd colon latest and say enter. Now this time what happened, right? It found that image which is already present in your local cache. It didn't try to download it. Hence what happened? It started running. So this is nothing but the container ID of that newly created container. When I try to do a docker ps, enter, you could see that there are two containers are running now with the same image actually. One is with this, which started 4 minutes ago. Okay, and one is with this latest one, which is running, which started with just 20 seconds back. And if you see the name, it is giving something like web1. So can I run one more container? Yes, sir, you can run one more container with web2. See? So again, you do a docker ps, you can display all the containers which are running. And again, you could see that when you run this container, it again provided some container ID. And this is what it is showing is a trimmed off. It means that it will just try to take some first 10 characters, right? And it is displaying it here like this. Am I clear, sir? So usually what happened, this is an older method. People use it for displaying the contents which are running. Or else what you can do that you can run a Docker. Let me clear the screen. Docker container ls. This will also list all the contents which are running it. So usually we always use this command Docker container ls. Even Docker ps also you can use it. But what we said Docker ps is an alias of Docker container ls actually. It's an alias actually. Am I clear, sir, till here? Do you find any difficulty? So it means that if you're not giving any name, by default, your Docker will try to give some random name to your running container. So always it is the best practice that whenever you create a container, you have to use a -fn name option, provide the name for the container, and then use execute that command. So while executing, after executing, you will see that the name will get reflected. Otherwise, it will give a default name that still you can use it. I'm not saying that you can't use it, but it's always better that when you're managing a lot of containers, right, in the real time, always you have to provide the names for each and every container. Assume that you are managing some 100 containers, right? You cannot remember these names and all, random names and all. But you have given with some kind of a pattern you have given, something like web1, web2, web3, web4, web5, up to web100 you have given. You know that I have given a container which starts with web actually, web1, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Rajesh, tomorrow I want to kill all this. Yes, you can kill it. All the web1, web2, web3, up to web100, you can kill it. So it becomes very quite easy you to manage, do operation onto the container if you have given a name. Right? That is what people always use. They always use to give a name for the container. Actually. Clear, guys? So, so let me write down quickly to list all the running container. Okay, we use what is the command, guys? We'll use a docker ps or else we use a docker what is it? Container ls. Am I clear, sir? Okay. So every container when created gets a unique what is it? Container ID, right? It gets a container ID. Fine. And if you have not passed the name or the Docker randomly assign ASSIGN, right? A name actually. It assigns a name. Okay. So let's create a container with a name, right? Like this. So we already created. I'm just writing in a notes. That's all. Am I clear, sir? Correct. So how you're going to get all those things, guys? See, you have to always go with the Docker command option. If it say Docker container, okay, run -f and help. If you run this command, right, you'll get so many options. You will say -f and name, -f and name. Search for -f and name. Where it is? M after M, N will come, right? Can you see here? -f and name and the string. This is what the option I used actually for giving a name actually. So always using this help is always better, guys. So always make a habit of using -f and help. Right? So initially it will take time, no problem, no doubt. But over a period of time, what happened? You will become little bit used to it, and you will not even do -f and help again. You know the option and the command set. You'll start using it directly. Actually, is it fine, guys? Now, okay, okay. Now let us do one thing. Let's stop the containers now. So today, only today, I'm using some time, guys, to show all the things. But tomorrow onwards, you will see that I'll be executing the commands without saying anything because you already know whatever I'm doing, right? Let's stop the container. How to stop it? That is how to stop it. If you try to go again the same stuff, or else if you go over here and if you try to do a Docker container -f help, and if you run it, can you see here somewhere? Can you see somewhere stop here? Docker container -f help. Can you see somewhere stop here? Can you see it? Stop one or more running container? Yes. Oh, it means that Rajesh, I want to. Okay, fine. I'll just say Docker container stop -f help. Still, you want to know the option? See, you can say just say Docker container stop, or you can use a Docker stop. This is alias actually. This is an older method I was saying. And then you could see that you can say stop and you can provide the option and the container name. You can provide it. Or else you can use that -s option. You can use it for sending some kind of a signal to stop it. This is one method. Or else you can use -t option. -t means for time. It means that before you stop the container, if any kind of an operation it is going on, right, let it complete the operation. So you will provide some kind of a time slice actually. So that in the time slice, okay, you will say that, okay, I want to stop it, but let it stop after 10 seconds. So that whatever it is executing, right, let the container completes its execution. So that's what I use hyphen T option or not, but hyphen time option. We will see all this option later, guys. When we want it, right? I will be using all this option. But these are the options which are there already, and we should use it actually. But right now, I want to just stop it. I'll just say Docker container stop, and I'll just say container name or container ID. I'll use it like this. Am I clear, sir? So shall we stop it now? Some containers? Yes, sir. Let's stop the container. Right? Now, if you go here, if you go back here and if you say Docker container ls or just a Docker ps, it will see that you are having so many three containers which are running actually. Now I want to stop the web one. I'll just say Docker container stop and specify the container name. I'll just say web one. Enter. So it could see that the container stop. How do you verify? You'll just say Docker container ls. Can you see here that web one? It is not showing now in the list actually. Similarly, I want to stop the web 2. I'll just say Docker container stop and specify the name. What is the name? Web 2. I'll say enter. See, web 2 will be stopped. Now again, if I do a Docker container ls or just a Docker ps, see, it will show you the only one left out, which is nothing but your dreamy, right? This is what it is shown, right? This is the only thing left. Those two web 1 and web 2 containers which are running, right? They were stopped now. Am I clear, sir? Either you can give a name or either you can give an ID. This ID also can give it. In this case, suppose I want to stop this container, I can just say Docker container stop and give this ID. It will stop that process. It will stop that container. Am I clear, sir? So what is it actually to stop the container? We'll just use a Docker stop and the container name. Like this you can give. Or the new method is Docker container stop and the container ID. Or you can even give name also. Either you can give container ID or you can give the name. Anything is possible. Anything is okay. Am I clear, sir? Now you'll say that, okay, Rajesh, I want to check all the contents which are stopped or which are running or whatever. When I try to run a Docker, sorry, when I try to run here, Docker PS, it is showing me only that content which is running. Yeah. But recently I stopped two contents, right? Web 1 and Web 2. I want to check all the contents which are running or whether it's stopping. Whatever the state it might be, I want to display all the things. Then you use a command docker ps-a. A means all. I'll say enter. So you could see that these two containers like web 1 and web 2, it just recently got exited out. It means it recently got stopped actually. Am I clear, sir? And you could see this container is running. It's the status is it is up from last 14 minutes actually. So this column is a status actually. This is nothing but the creation time, right? And this is nothing but the command which it is running, and this is the image name, and this is a container ID, and this is the port number if it is used any port, right? Port forwarding and all you will see here, and this is the name actually. So there are so many columns are there. You need to understand the whole thing. When you're seeing that, you will understand what is the container, what is the state of the container, how long it is running, and what is the name you are giving. Like that, everything you have to see and you have to understand it. Okay. So now you'll say that Rajesh, I have stopped it. Shall I start the container? Yes, sir. You can even start it also. So now what happened? Let's let's start the container. So how do you do that? You can just say Docker start and you can give a container name or a container ID or name. Anything you can give it. Or else you can just say Docker container start and the container ID or name it. Anything you can give like this. Right? Shall I use the first method to start it? Yeah, I'll go here. I'll just say Docker start and I'll give the name of the container is web 1, right? I'll just say web 1. I'll start it. Okay. Again, I'll just say Docker start and again I'll say web 2. So I've started these two containers, right? And if you see this diagram, now what happened? The containers are running. You stopped it actually by using stop. And when you want to make it run again, you have to just apply a start. So again, what happened? The container started running now. To display all the things, what do you do? Basically, guys, you'll just say Docker container ls. Now you could see that those two, web 1 and 2, it started running now. Am I clear, sir? Now you'll say that Rajesh, I want to remove this. It means that you want to go and delete this container. So state of it is delete. I want to delete this container. So as per the diagram, it says that you have to first stop it and then delete it actually. But when you're directly deleting it, it will not allow it. It will not allow to delete it actually. For example, if you go here and if you try to do a docker rm-fn help, see, you can even do forcible remove also, right? Now let us try to remove it. Suppose I want to remove the Docker one, sorry, now the web one. So I'll just say Docker RM and then I'll say web one. See, it'll give an error saying that actually the container is running. So first you have to stop the container before removing or force remove. It is saying it. Am I clear, sir? Right? So what you will say, so Rajesh, let me know. Let me first stop it, man. Docker stop web one. Yes. Yeah. Once I stop it, then you do a Docker, Docker, and then RM, and then say web one. Yeah. Now it will remove that container. So if you do a Docker PS, right, you could see that web one is removed. And if you do a Docker PS-A, since you've deleted it, that does it show everything? No, it will not show. Because you have completely removed that container. So if you execute Docker PS-A, it will not show. So it will only show the status if suppose your container is stopped. Yeah, it will show you in the Docker PS-A option. It will show you. But if you deleted the completely, if you have deleted the container, guys, it will not show actually. It means that it's out of now. It doesn't have the relevance in the Docker, right? And so it will go off. So to do a Docker remove, right? It means that literally you're removing the whole container itself from your system, right? So similarly, whenever I want to remove the web 2, right, basically you can do a Docker stop web 2 and then do a Docker RM web 2. That you can do it. Or else what you can do that you can forcibly remove that actually. Like for example, if I do a Docker RM with -f and give the name to the web 2, so it will first stop it and then it will remove it actually. Internet is stopping also and then it is removing it. Am I clear, sir?
Docker container LS also same as Docker PS.
Hmm? No, if you do a Docker PS, see, it is showing you this is the only thing what's running. If you do a Docker PS-A, right? Yeah, I mean the only one container is there. That's all. Those two you removed, right? Same thing with the Docker container, container ls. I'll show you, or you can just say Docker container ls-a. See, it'll also show that only one container is running. Am I clear, sir?
Both are same from
Which one?
PS as well as Docker container PS.
Yes, yes, that's what I'm saying. Docker PS is the older method, and Docker container ls is a new method now.
Okay.
Am I clear, sir? Now the question comes, okay, fine, Rajesh. Now, as per your diagram, you're having your server which is having these two interfaces. Oh, sorry, guys. IP links. Yeah, so we'll show. Don't worry. Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm just seeing your chat now. Okay, fine. Now the question comes here that I created a Docker container. Like for example, I'm having this machine where I'm having these two interfaces with my machine, right? These are two network interfaces. Okay, good. It means that in my system, if any kind of a networking stuff you want to do it, like it'll be taken care by this interface cards actually, or it'll be taken care by this networking interfaces. Okay. Now what is happening that I'm having a machine here like this. I have to again take up the key part. So I'll take some server now. Okay, this is server, and from the previous diagram, I think I can take this reference of this interface card, copy here. So you have this interface card. Okay. Now on top of this, what you did, guys, you installed a Docker actually. So Docker is there now. So Docker is here. It means that you have installed the Docker and Docker is running. So through the help of a Docker, what you're trying to do, you're trying to create one container, right? And that container is something what we call it as a web one. What is it? Web one. You created the container, right? With this web one. Similarly, what you did, you created one more container here known as a web two container, right? Now you might ask a question, Rajesh, whether these containers, right, will it get this interface, network card interfaces like this? Yes, sir, it will get it. How much is going to get it? Yeah, it'll also get like this. It'll also get it. It'll also get a networking stuff. This is something we call as a loop back. It'll get hello, and it'll also your content also get some IP address. Consider that it is getting something x dot x dot x dot x something like that. It's getting same thing here also. It'll also get one loop back, and it'll also will get it IP address. So how to find an IP address assigned to this container? So every container will get a networking that will get an IP address also. Now how to get it actually, or how to search it, right? Okay, so now what happened, right? Because we already deleted it, right? Like I want to, so now let's get the IP address info from the container. So it means that I already removed it actually, right? I removed that web1 and web2, right? Okay. How do you do it? So first you have to create the two container. Let's create two containers. Same containers. Let's create two containers. What is that? Web1 and web2, right? Okay. To get the IP address of these two containers, we need to use inspect option. We have to use the inspect option. Okay. How do you get the inspect option? Like for example, if you go here, if you go here, before doing the inspect, let me try to run the container. I'll just say docker run or docker run. What is it? Hyphen name. I'll just say web1 hyphen d detached httpd colon latest. Yeah, the same command with web2. So I create these two containers now. Okay, now if I try to do a docker container ls hyphen a, now you could see that these three containers are running, right? Already this was there. Now these two containers have been started now. Am I clear, sir? Now, Rajesh, I want to inspect it actually, right? So for example, if I try to do a docker container hyphen help or just a docker hyphen help. So guys, can you see somewhere there's any option or the inspect somewhere? Can you see here? Inspect display detailed information about one or more containers. Yes, these are options they have given it actually. So shall I use it? Yes, no problem. You can use it. When I do a docker container, sorry, container, what is it? Option inspect and specify the web one. This is a one container the name web one, right? And say enter. See, you'll get so many information. Don't worry about all these things. We'll discuss very detail about this in maybe after 4 or 5 sessions, right? We'll discuss about all this, whatever it is displaying. But right now, I want to check the IP address associated with this web one container. For that, if you come down here, can you see the IP6 address? See the IP address assigned to your container is 172.17.0.3. This is IP address assigned to it actually. Similarly, if I try to do run a docker inspect, container inspect and say web2 and say enter, can you see the container, the IP address is 172.17.0.4. So it means that Rajesh, what I can make out that this web one, it allocated the IP address like 127.170.70.0.3 and this is 170.70.04. So it is giving serially a number, right? Yeah. So it means that does any kind of a subnet is assigned for your containers where serial it is getting, yes, sir, some kind of a subnetting is assigned. It means that when you install a Docker freshly in your system, Docker will get its own networking. It gets its own network. It means that there is some kind of a IP address range will be assigned, or nothing but CID range will be assigned for your Docker itself, so that when you are trying to create any kind of a container, your Docker will try to assign IP address in a serial manner. Actually, it will not randomly take it, give a serial number. Suppose if I'm trying to create one more Web3, it will try to do 170.70.0.5, 0.6, 0.7. Like that, it will be keep giving serially. See here? So this is a third. So I'll say Web 3, Web 4. See, I created additionally two more containers. Now when I try to do inspect, see, so what is the IP address assigned? 0.5, the next available IP. What about this one? 0.6. See, serial it is giving an IP address actually. This one you have to remember, guys. Right? Randomly it will not give IP address, serial it give. And when you install the Docker, some kind of a CDR network range is assigned. Now, if you watch it carefully here, you can able to understand yourself. Okay, 172.17.0.0 slash 16 is that is the CID range which is assigned for your Docker. Yes, sir. That is an IP address which is assigned for your Docker. Okay. So Rajesh, what about 172.17.0.1? That IP, that is IP address is assigned to your, what is it? It is assigned to your interface itself actually. Like when I try to do a if config here, I think I'm not sure it will work around. Yeah, it will work here. If you go up here with this output, can you see somewhere known as a Docker interface? See, Docker interface. Yeah. This is a network interface for the Docker itself actually. And it starts with the IP address 170.70.0.1. Oh, it means that this first IP address itself is assigned to this Docker interface. Yes. And 170.17.0.2, it is used for some other purpose. Then it will start giving from 170.17.0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0. See, it starts giving. Oh, it means that these are CAD ranges by default, it provides to it actually. Am I clear, sir, till here? So we will go in detail about this Docker networking. Not now, after maybe after 10 sessions, we will come across with Docker networking where we will go very in depth in Docker networking. It's a very good thing to learn, guys, because that will open a door you to learn more on Kubernetes networking actually. Because they have added so many things actually that when you try to get to the Kubernetes, all the networking stuff, whatever you have in Docker, right, the same thing the Kubernetes have used it actually. The same thing with much more enhanced the way they have adapted it when it comes to Kubernetes actually. But if you try to have a knowledge, if you have a knowledge on Docker networking, it'll boost your learning in understanding Kubernetes very well. Am I clear, sir, till here? Guys, still here, do you have any doubts? I know I've been continuously taking from past 1 hour, but I wanted to know, is it fine, everything?
No, Rajesh, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So Krishna, now don't ask all these things, Krishna, now because our default network is bridge and all. Okay, we will discuss about all these things very soon. Okay. I'm not bringing anything more than whatever I told now, right? Because it's unnecessary. I want to pinch in that networking. I have to start speaking something on that. It'll drag our time actually, right? Yeah, it's good that you're asking something, but what happened? You are asking after 10 sessions, what happens? You're asking now only. So I don't want to answer it as of now, actually. Okay. Okay. Good. Very good. So in this case, Rajesh, like when I try to run a Docker, inspect, and then say web one, yeah, this is the IP address which is assigned 170.7.0.3, right? I'll copy this or else I'll write it here. It is not XXX now. It is actually as per our 172 dot, what is it? 172.17.0.3. Similarly, for this web 2, it is 0.4. This is the IP address assigned for your containers. Correct, guys? Now, if you go over here, yeah, as I told you, if config or IP-ADDR, you can run even this command was IPP-ADDR also can run it. Here, the same thing. If you go here, instead of if config, you can even run an IP-ADDR also. IP space ADDR, that will also show you the same thing. Here, you could see that there is one interface, a Docker 0 interface there, and that has an IP address 170.70.0.1/16, right? And this is your subnet mask, right? Okay. Now you will say that Rajesh, this container is running fine, very good. I'm very happy. This container is running, and this container also has an IP address, which is kind of a unique IP address assigned for each and every container. Very good. I'm very happy. Now assume that I want to get inside or I want to just execute certain things in the container itself. I want to do an execute. I want to execute actually. It means that I want to execute it. Is there any option there for executing it? Let's see whether there's any kind of an option is there or not. So if I try to do a Docker container -fn help and let's say enter. Do you see somewhere you can see that exec? See, executing a command inside a running container. It means that shall I execute any command inside a container? Yeah, you can run inside a container. How do you do that? So what you will do that you will just go to your this one. Assume that actually Rajesh, I want to as you display the IP address now by using inspector, can I use a exec to display the IP address? Yes, sir. You can do an exec also. So if I try to do a Docker, what is it? Container. What is it? Exec. Yeah, IP-ADDR, right? Sorry, exec. Your container name, that is web one, and I'll just say IP-ADDR. See? Oh, okay. Oh, it's unable to find it because your Docker can running. It doesn't have this command. So it means that I want to install the package actually. I want to install the package actually. So to installing the package, basically, guys, what you have to do is basically first you have to update the package, right? So you have to just say Docker container exec and I'll say web one and I'll run the command. What is it? Actually run the command app update. So you are just running an app update inside your running container web one. See, it is updating the package. Okay. After updating the package, whenever I want to get this IP-ADDR command, what I have to do is I have to run the same command docker app update. Instead of docker app, I have to install one package known as install. What is it? IP route 2. That is a package you have to give it to get the IP address, IP-ADDR. Right? To get this command, you have to install this package IP route 2-y. You are installing this package. So now, see, without logging inside the container, what you're trying to do that you're trying to install the package outside with the help of an exec command. Exec option, sorry. So now you have installed it. Now if I try to do a Docker, what is it? Container exec, what is it? Web one. Sorry, Docker container. What is it actually? Exec exec web one. What is the command? IP-ADDR. See, now you're going to get the output. See, so now you could see that what is the IP address which is assigned to your web one. See, 170.17.0.3. So like this way also you can try to find out the IP address or else you can even run an inspect command. Docker container inspect. So that is what in sometime in interview will ask you, okay, Rajesh, please tell me how you can display the IP address. It will say, sir, Docker container inspect, give the container name or the container ID, you can able to get it. But is there any other option? Is there other command is there, Rajesh, through which I can be able to display the IP address? You will say, no, there's no other command. Then it means that you have not properly worked on Docker. Right? Because there is an exec option is there. Exec is there. Using this also, you can display the IP address. This is what they'll be looking for as an interview. They want to know like how much in detail that person knows. Clear, guys? That's the reason what happened. Most of the people are not getting selected. You know, one of the reason is actually that either they have not properly explored it properly, right? Or either they are not aware of it actually. They're not aware of it. That's what they're not able to answer it, right? So if you have explored it properly, you have updated very well properly, and you have that shows that when you're answering it right, that shows that how much you have worked on the technology. A lot of people learn it. I'm not saying no. A lot of people would have worked also. They have been working, but what happened? Sometimes they would have not explored some option. So during the interview process, they will get to know everything like how much they don't know. So that is what it is. So always when you try to learn, explore many things so that you will get to know, okay, there are many other options also are available actually. So that will what happen when you are trying to explore many things, that will increase your skills actually. It will increase your skills. You will get a better vision towards that tool or the technology. You will get a better vision, as well as what happen when you work on the real time. Basically, you will be able to understand the whole aspect of whatever you're doing your task, right? The whole you'll be able to understand a better way. So please start exploring the things. That's what we need actually. And today's time, we know that we explore all the things with the help of the perplexity or else with the help of a chat GPT. Chat GPT will give you all the commands and options, guys. It will give you tons and tons of options and command. Okay, only we have to only go and only you have to go and explore everything actually. Like for example, now I try to find out what is a command. What is a command to check in IP ADDR, right? IP route 2, right? I give, right? How did I got it? I can either go Google and search it. How do you install the networking package to in the Ubuntu? They will give you that some option they'll give. In ChatGPT, it will show that okay, please install IP route 2 hyphen Y. Okay, app install. So with that ChatGPT, I got this information, right? So similarly, you have to start exploring the things. Then only you learn it actually, right? Nobody will come and explain you guys. Nobody will come and help you. I'm saying you need to explore it yourself actually. Okay. Okay, guys. Good. Now, now the thing is that actually that this is all fine. Okay, you will say that Rajesh, I want to display what is that disk actually. Yeah, you can display it also. Same command. Instead of it, what you do run, you will just say lsblk, right? Lsblk command. See, it will display the disk. What are the disk which is there inside your container, right? Similarly, what happened, right? You have to execute a command, something like a ps command. PS command is there or not? I'm not sure. Let's see. No, it is not there. So you have to install that package. Am I clear, sir? So PS is not there. Obviously, your PS, what is the option you use? PS-AX or just say AUX. Even that will also not work because PS itself is not there, right? So you have to go and install this PS command actually. Now, how to install this PS and all? Go to the Google and try to learn. Now, one thing what you're understanding is that, Rajesh, when I'm executing these commands by with the help of an exec, when I'm executing this command, some commands are getting executed, but majority I see that actually majority of them commands are not at all getting executed at all. See, some command lsblk, it got executed, fine. Okay. Now, when I try to execute some command as a IPADDI, it didn't got executed because it expects some package to be installed, and with the help of the package only I'm able to execute that command, right? Similarly, you are not able to execute this command, right? There are many commands are there which are not been executed. Now the question comes, why it is not been executed? So it means that, guys, whatever the image which you are using, a HTTP image, that is a very lightweight image. It doesn't have it might have only certain libraries to only run that application, that's all. It doesn't have all the utilities. What are the utility an end user reads, right? He might not get all the utilities or all the commands in a container because container is a lightweight image. It uses some kind of a lightweight image to run it actually. So whenever a developer or whenever a person is building a lightweight image, he will try to remove all the commands or all the package or all the unnecessary package. He don't want it actually. Hence, what happened that whenever you're using any kind of a slim or a lightweight image, right, you will not find all these commands. So if you want it, you have to especially go and install it by using an apt, or if you're using any kind of Red Hat or yum base, you have to use a yum command to install the package, and then you'll get all those commands actually. Am I clear, sir? Is it fine? So here with the help of an exec, okay, what happened, right? You are running this command, okay, inside the running container web1, and you are getting an output here itself actually. So without login, without getting inside the container, just you are executing that command, and that command output you are getting in the screen itself actually. Right? Now the question comes, Rajesh, I want to get inside the container one. Right? For example, web 1 is there, web 2 is there. Yeah, this container is running, no doubt. If I try to do a Docker container ls, come on, Docker container ls, I could see that all these containers are running, web 1, web 2, web 3, as well as even this container is running. I want to get inside this container actually. Yes, you can run inside the container. By using the same exec, you can get inside the container. How to do that? You have to just say Docker container container exec, you have to use -it option. I means interactive, T means terminal. I want to get the terminal of which container, web1. Okay, you have to provide the shell also option, -bin/bin/bash and say enter. Now you could see that you have got inside your container. Right? Now the question comes, Rajesh, fine, I got into this container, very good, right? Shall I run a htop command? I want to see, man, how it is running. This command is not there. Shall I install it? Yeah, go and install it. Apt install htop -y. Let's see whether it installs or not. See, it is installing. So inside a container, I got it. I'm trying to install some kind of a package. So it means that, Rajesh, when you are trying to do all these things, it means that the container has a network connectivity. It can able to ping to the outside world. It can able to connect to the internet and it can do all operations. Yes, sir, it can do all the operations. How it's all happening? Yeah, we will discuss all those things in the networking. Don't worry. Right? Because now Krishna asked some question. Rajesh, is it a bridge network? Yeah, it's a bridge network. So through the bridge network, can you connect to the outside world? Yes, sir, I can connect to the outside world. Okay. Right? That is the answer. So since it's a bridge network, you are able to connect to the outside world. Right? And how it happens, things happens. Yeah, we will learn all those things. Don't worry. So now, Rajesh, can I run the stop command now? Let's see. Yeah, run the stop command. See, it starts working. Now you see the trick here. Now, uh, guys, are you listening to me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Rajesh.
Now
Yes.
the trick is, now you understand, Rajesh, in the very beginning of the class, when you started your class, you launched this virtual machine here, right? You launched this virtual machine, you logged into this server like this. And what you did, no, you tried to run the stop command. Why you did all those things? Why you did all those things? Now it's a catch. See, you run the stop command in your Linux machine. The same stop command you are running here actually in your inside the container here. Now, if you see here, when you're running stop, it is showing you so many processes which are running in your system. And every process has a PID, process identification number. If you see it here, can you see? It starts with the process ID 1. And you could see that the process ID 1 is for the init process. Okay. What means that, Rajesh, when your Linux is booted up, the first process what you get is a init process. Yes, sir, it's a init process you get. Okay. Now, shall I compare the same thing there, Rajesh, in container, inside container? Yes, sir. Now you could see that what is the process when the first process, hey, first process, that's what your HTTP package which you're running, no? What you did a Docker container run -fname web1 say HTTP colon later. Oh, where is the Rajesh, where about other process, man? I'm not able to see it. No, there's no process at all, man. Oh, it means that your container is only one process running, that is your application HTTP. Yes, sir. That is the only thing which is running. What about your desktop? Desktop have so many other processes, man. This is a very big operating system, right? It's a kind of a desktop based operating system. It's a very big operating system. You'll find all the processes which are running. It means that all these processes are getting created during boot up time itself. So that's how stop command is showing you. But whereas here, it is not showing you all the process because there are no process at all. Only one process is running, and that is nothing but your HTTP process. That itself is it is assigned a PID1 itself. Oh my God, super. And remember the PID1 itself is assigned to your running application. Because when you try to run an application inside the container, the first process which is created within inside a container is your application itself. And the PID what it assigned is 1. Later, if you're trying to create any other process or any other thing you're doing, it will try to give some other PIDs for that actually. Is it clear now, sir? Now you can able to understand the context of why I explained there, why I execute the command in the virtual machine initially when you started a class. At that time, you're not understanding all these things. Okay, something Rajesh is executing. Let me see what he's doing. So you're just trying to see what I'm doing. Now there is a meaning, there's a purpose. You're able to understand that when you create a container, inside the container, I want to understand the process tree. I want to understand about the file system. I want to understand about the disk space. I want to understand the RAM, what it is using. Everything I want to check it. I have to understand how in the container it is working. Am I clear, sir? So Now the thing is that now you can understand that Rajesh, when all these are everything fine, when I understood everything, now the question comes, right? What happened when you so guys, shall I take another 15 minutes, 20 minutes more?
Yes, Mr.
Yes, Rajesh.
So when you start the Linux machine, what happens usually? It means that when you boot up the system, what happens actually? This and all I already covered in the Linux class. If you remember when we started 1.5, 2 months back, right? Like we already we understood, right? When what happened when you start a Linux machine in terms of processes, what get launched first, right? Now, yeah. Now, if you see here, if you go and check your Windows Task Manager, oh my God, what happened? Task Manager, you will see that these are the processes which are running actually. So some processes are running in a foreground where this is my main application, and some processes are running in a background actually. If I try to go to the other things, so this is a list of all the processes which are running. Yeah, this is showing something. Okay. And what happened right here, it is showing you like a process tree actually. It means that it will show you that these are all the processes which are running in your system actually, right? These are all the processes which are running it actually, right? So it means that Rajesh, when you start the process, actually basically what happened, right? Your process, a lot of other processes are getting created during boot time. And finally what happened, once the system comes up, you will see so many processes are running in a system, right? After that, there's a first process which will get created, which you call the init process actually. Later, all of the processes which are created are rather the child process of the init itself. And many of the processes which are getting created later, those most of them are daemon process actually. We call it a daemon or daemon process. This process, daemon process will be running in a background. Later, after once the user logs in and when you try to run an application, oh, so, okay, those applications also will get created, and those applications also you will try to get a PID for those running application also. Okay. Now it is good that we saw it. Now the thing is that Rajesh, let me see one more thing. Okay, I will do a control C. I will come out from this inside. I'll come out from this container. Okay, let me do this. Let me run my Spring Pet Clinic. You know, on the yesterday's class, last class, right? I run a Spring Pet Clinic, right? What I did, I went to the hub.docker.com. This is my disk, hub.docker.com. And when I try to go with my hub, you could see that this is my image. If you click on this image, you could see that this is what the image name is. Raj Linux SPC colon 1, something like this actually. I'll copy it. And what I will do that, I will go back to your here Docker machine. I'll just say Docker run -fn name. I'll just say Spring Pet Clinic -d and paste it actually. Oh, sorry, paste it means I have to use that. What is it? Raj Linux slash. And what is the name, guys? SPC colon 1. Sorry, SPC 1 call it colon. I'm sorry. SPC 1.0. Okay, I'll say enter. Now what happened? It doesn't have that image, so it starts pulling, and you could see that it has started running it actually. It started running. So if you try to do a Docker container ls or Docker ps, you could see that your application is running here, and it started running from 7 seconds. So Rajesh, shall I do a exec on this name on this container? Yes, sir. When I try to do a Docker container exec, and what is the image name? The name, sorry, what is the container name? SPC, right? And space. Uh, what is it actually? Docker container exec SPC. And if I want to run a command, suppose I want to display the process, I'll just say PA-AUX. Let's see whether it works or not. Let us see. See here, guys. Right? You're up. See here, what happened? You're displaying the process ID. Right? Now you could see that it is having a PID1, and you could see that this is a command which is running in the backend, right? See java-jar spc.jar. That's the reason what happened. Your application is working or your application is running. So when you run an application, what happen inside a container, the always what happen, whatever the command you use for running that application, right? That command, the first PID or the first process will be generated, and it will be always be assigned the PID one itself. Am I clear, sir? Is it fine, guys?
Yes, Rajesh.
Good. Right. Similarly, if I try to run a Docker stats and say enter, see here, your Spring Pet Clinic in this machine, like where you're running this playground Docker, right? It is having a 32 GB RAM memory. In the 32 GB RAM memory, 322 MB is used by your Spring Pet Clinic application. Similarly, for the Web 1, Web 2, out of 32 GB almost, it is consuming 7 MB, 7 MB, 7 MB, and this one is consuming some 38 MB because you install some package and all, right? So many package, and this one, what happened? This whatever the previous one, right? It is using 7 MB. See, so you are getting all kind of a statistical information about what are the contents, how much CPU it is utilized, how much memory is utilized actually, what are the limits actually, what is the net IO, block IO, PIDs, so many information you will be able to see with the help of a Docker stats command actually. Docker space with the option is the stats actually. Am I clear, sir? Okay, guys. So now what we'll do, we'll stop it here. So what we are going to understand in the next session, guys, we'll continue from here itself, right? For example, we will continue from here, and what would be the next topic is that. So what happens when the Linux machine starts? This we're going to discuss. We'll start with here. And then what happened in the next session? We're going to continue with like how container works internally. Plus, we'll also try to learn about Docker commands actually. There are many Docker commands are there. We have to slowly learn one by line by executing all the commands because we just only saw only 2 or 3 options today, like Docker stop, Docker start, Docker exec. But you saw in the list, right? There are so many options were there, right? Docker copy was there actually. So many things options were there. So we will be discussing all those things. Next 2, 3 sessions will only go in learning all these commands, guys. And of course, when you're learning all these commands, we will be learning a lot of new concepts also, and we'll be exploring many things in the Docker actually, right? So how internal works, this is quite interesting. We will be learning about this in our next session. Am I clear, sir? Okay. Before we get inside learning this container, we'll also see that how Docker came to the picture, how this Docker company was started, who started this company, right? And how Docker literally use some kind of a kernel features to come up with this Docker container, right? How they create this Docker container, what are those kernel features through which they designed this Docker container. We are going to go inside, understand it about all these things, or else we will understand about little bit about the history about how Docker community came to the picture, what are things they do it in the same period of time, what Yahoo company was doing, what Google was doing, what many major companies were doing when this Docker was coming to the play, right? What these companies were doing, we'll also discuss about that also. And then like how the Kubernetes idea was born because the Docker, that also we'll understand in next session actually, right? So tomorrow next session will be quite interesting, guys, because we'll be learning many things. Plus also we will deep dive into the now in with respect to internally how the container works with respect to the command line also. Am I clear, sir? Okay, guys. With that, let me stop the session.